So, a warm welcome. Thank you for showing up from wherever in the world to enrich this series of conversations that the Women Economic Forum is hosting as its first ever digital summit. And it's odd that you have a male moderator, and if you're okay, I shall continue with the conversation.
Absolutely.
We're trying to break some stereotypes here. So, both, I think, Sandy and Maha, thank you for being here. Both of you have, I think, extraordinary backgrounds to talk about this very complex issue called VUCA. I thought VUCA was invented a couple of years ago, and those waves of change have kind of died out, but it looks like we're still riding the surf, right, on this one. And it just seems to amplify both in magnitude and scale. So what I'll begin is, rather than spending any more time, I'll make a 1 minute introduction of the two of you for the audience. They, of course, have your speaker bios in the library. But first, Sandy Mitchell, you run something called the Apex Catalyst Group. That's a firm focused on building leaders and their companies. What I see in your extensive and impressive resume is that you built a great corporate university for a Fortune 500 company. And maybe there were some huge learnings there as you learned to kind of manage the matrix, if you might. Yes. And what I found deeply fascinating in your current venture is what's called the enterprise operating system. I have been in IT and I've worked for enterprise resource planning, but operating systems that help keep a company to envision and stick to plan and strategy, right? And yes, be consistent to that flight path is, I think, an interesting one. So we'll, of course, hear your views on this topic. Just to maybe put some order into this conversation, we'll get Sandy to come in first. Sandy, do you want to make some points of view on what you make out of VUCA? Are we just running into a world that will endlessly be more VUCA, or are we just worrying incessantly? Are we so working from a sense of fear about more of the unknown? Is the unknown really more unknown? And things like that, or whatever you want to say. And then
I'll say yes.
Right. Short answer. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So Sigdev, thank you so much for this. What I thought is I could kind of give you an overview of what is VUCA, right, and what are 4 skills that leaders can use to be agile in a VUCA world. Right. And kind of use some stories from my clients through each one of these to give y'all a sense of what does it look like, right? Right. You know, things have just changed dramatically over the last few months. You've got the pandemic, you've got riots, you've got the oil fluctuation, you got the economic shutdown. I mean, it seems like a perfect storm of things have come together, right? And we've also had rapid technological advances, we've had innovation, we've had lots of pivoting. But here's the thing, we still don't know how long it's going to take to pull out of this. We don't know if schools are going to open personally or virtually. We don't know if our companies are going to make this through this. We don't know if how the economy is going to be if we have to shut down again. It's just full of uncertainty and volatility. So how do we lead when we don't know? Right. Because you can. You can. And so the U.S. military has used the term VUCA since 2001 when we had 9/11 happen. And so let me just kind of explain what it is. So VUCA, the V of VUCA, it stands for volatility. And basically this is a change that's happening really rapidly and it's unpredictable. U stands for uncertain. It's the present is unclear and the future is unknown. Right. C is complex. It's many different interconnected factors that come into play. And A is for ambiguous. It's a lack of clarity and awareness about situations. And so you think about your company in this, it's there's some craziness going on. So I have a client that was on track for 150% increase in revenue this year. The last week of February was the biggest week they have had in their 46-year career.
Wow.
And 2 weeks later, they had lost 98% of their business.
Jesus.
Because they are a large event audiovisual company that takes care of concerts and events up to 100,000 people.
Right.
Yeah. So huge pivot from thinking they're going to be 150% bigger in revenue to losing 98%. So, you know, this environment, it's just got so many challenges that everybody in the organization now is going to have to face. And so the challenges can be significant individually, but when you put them all together, like we've had, it's craziness.
Right.
So here's one of the things that I think, Sukdev, I think that the this whole pandemic, this whole confluence of things is really showing that we as companies need to be as human focused as we are goal focused. Patrick Lencioni does a really cool job of talking about this, about how companies need to be both smart and healthy. Right. And smart companies, these are the ones that are, they have strategies and goals and execution, right? And that is absolutely needed when you're going through this. However, you also have to have healthy leaders. And I don't just mean physically healthy.
Right.
I mean, what Lencioni describes healthy leadership teams are those that they're aligned on their vision. They feel like they've got each other's back, right? They support each other rather than point fingers and blame each other. They don't allow for gossip. When you've got a leadership team that is aligned, that's a healthy leadership team. And as goes the leadership team, so goes the rest of the organization.
Correct.
So one of the things that I find is that CEOs tend to be agile thinkers. They have to be, right? It's always been part of their job. The interesting thing is that now agile thinking needs to go all the way throughout the organization. So for example, the client that I was talking about, she had to lay off everybody but 10 people in her organization. Wow. Yeah. I mean, you know, when you're losing 98% of your business.
And that really hurts both ways, right?
It absolutely does, because they've been in business for 46 years. They're a family-owned business. So those people have been with them forever. They feel like family, even the ones who aren't married and born into the family. They call themselves the Big Ten, and having everybody in the Big Ten being agile, it's vital to the sustenance of their company. So here's the 4 skills that we're working on with that company to help them hone their management in a VUCA world. The first one is building trust.
Right.
The second one is embracing change. The third one is understanding systems thinking. And the fourth one, asking questions to learn quickly. So let's dive a little bit into each one of these. So the first one is building trust. This falls right in line with having a healthy team, right? You've got to have a leadership team that is built on strong, trusting relationships. Because in a VUCA world, you have, well, let me say it this way. So the Gallup organization, they've done, you know, hundreds and thousands of assessments. And one of the ones that they did is they talked about how people need between 4 to 6 positive statements for every 1 negative statement. In a crazy world like this, where people's emotions are on higher alert, you need even more. And it's not for every negative statement, it's for every perceived negative statement.
Right.
So you may not even realize that they have seen something or heard something negative in you. So you think about the trusting relationship. If you've built a trusting relationship with your leadership team before this goes into place, then you are given as a leader more grace to make mistakes. As long as you help people feel like they know what's happening as you go along. There's a lot of things you can't tell as a leader, but there are a lot of things you can that people need to hear, because if you don't tell them, their minds are going to make things up.
Right. Right.
Yeah, which causes more fear and more being stuck, which means that their productivity is going to be even lower. So even if you don't know everything, you tell them what you know. and you tell them we're figuring this out together, right? They want to trust and believe that you will lead them through this. So how do you build this skill? Two things we can look at. One, develop teams and promote collaboration. You really want to have that collaborative environment here. And the second one is reward those team members who demonstrate vision, understanding, clarity, agility. You want people to have the expansive mind. So my client, what she did is she chose the 10 most versatile people in her company to keep. The ones who are creative, loyal, problem solvers, and they trust each other implicitly, because they are the ones that are going to make sure that this company stays in business. We've done a lot of pivoting on this. So the first area is building trust. The second area is about embracing change. Right. Now this sounds, it sounds scary, and for some people it sounds stupid.
Right.
But you know what? We are going so fast in today's world. We get more information in a day than people had their whole lifetimes just a couple hundred years ago.
Right.
It's stunning how much is coming at us. So of course change is going to be at it. And when you have something as big as the confluence that we've had right now, you feel like you're just in a swirl storm of change, right? Which can be scary and cool. Like I've had one of my clients, they produce luxury leather goods.
Right.
Now, they almost went out of business because who's buying luxury goods right now, right?
Right.
But what they did is they stopped and they looked at what their system, their supply chain is, and they realized we have a really powerful supply chain. So they were instrumental in guiding their whole supply chain in shifting so that everybody in the supply chain is now producing PPEs or personal protective equipment. And they're serving the world, and they are making more money than they had over the last 2 years, but they're doing it by helping the world, right? So they're really powerful in what they're doing. So by embracing change, they have the ability to be able to see, even in the midst of constant change, I have the ability to control what I can control.
Correct.
Because what other people do is they stop and they freak out and they get stuck and they're looking at, oh my gosh, we call it problem admiration.
Right.
This problem is so big, and so you don't even know where to start. Right.
Sandy, sorry to interrupt. Could I request you to say your bit in the next minute, because I think we'll get Dr. Mahat to come in for a bit, and then we'll do the wrap up with the two of you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got embracing change. The next one is understanding systems thinking. It's that story that I told you, understanding where all the pieces fit together. And then the fourth one is being able to ask questions and learn quickly. Leaders have to have information, and they have to have it in a way that they can discern what needs to happen to make good decisions. So I think if you focus on building trust, embracing change, understanding systems thinking, and asking questions and learning quickly, you can take control over the pieces of this world that you have control over. And
thank you for your magical formula in unraveling VUCA. I think at least I'm pretty clear on how to handle the world going forward.
Good.
Sandy, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think kind of two parallel things need to happen at the same time, because I work primarily with small and mid-sized companies. I think that the visionaries, the CEOs, they must have an eye towards what's happening and in the industry and in the environment. They have to have that in order to make good decisions today. Right. And the integrators, the people who are leading the companies, they need to have plans that are flexible. Right. They need to be able to shift. So I think the big thing that they need to do with their employees is to communicate strongly, communicate clearly, and be willing to ask the people on the front lines what else could be true.
Right.
Quick thing. My client, who's the event company, they've got 6 huge trucks. They've pivoted from being an event company to being a long haul trucking company.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's being able to look at things from a different perspective, both from a big industry trends, and then also what do we do on the ground to keep our people paid and fed.
So on that note of agile activity and optimism, let's bring the session to a close. I would have loved to continue to chat with the two of you incessantly and forever, but finally, really, it's really my honor on behalf of the Women Economic Forum, in a token of our appreciation for your time and ideas, that we'd like to award you the iconic Woman Creating a Better World for All. And to you, Sandy Mitchell. Thank you for your time. It'll be a pleasure staying in touch. And thank you again for your time and ideas.
Thank you very much.